stay small and tight. Not like you. Sarah's laugh rings through the night. Such a brute, drunk and silly, thought she'd play. Crazy witch, locked me in just for the day. Life's a bitch. Can't you hear me, Sarah, please? Hook ass bitch, out of air my lungs they squeeze. Let me out, you witch, this is not a funny joke. You put your hands around my throat, feeling trapped and nearly choke. Gonna croak. Can't you hear me, Sarah, please? Hook ass bitch, out of air my lungs they squeeze. Let me out, you witch, this is not a funny joke. You put your hands around my throat, feeling trapped and nearly choke. Gonna croak. Sarah, let me out, I'm begging, please. This is stuff I'm almost pegging, please someone don't leave me here. Lost my hair, in this case I disappear. Are you there? I'm dark and tight, I curl and wait. Are you passed out? You'd return my fate. You emptied my stash out. The game has turned to cruel. Why are you filming late? Inside I feel the fool. I can't breathe. Wasn't meant to be my night. Hiding in the suitcase tight. Sarah's giggles fade away, leaving me as her castaway. Never let me out, I'm begging, please. This stuff I'm almost pegging, please. Pray someone don't leave me here. Lost my hair, in this case I disappear. Are you there? Boom. Looking tight, I curl and wait. You passed out, hoping you return my fate. Empty my stash out, stupid game has turned too cruel. Are you feeling me? Lost is gotta feel the fool, I can breathe. Wasn't meant to be my night. Hiding in the suitcase tight. Sarah's giggles fade away, leaving me as a castaway. Sarah, let me out, I'm begging, please. Breathing stuff, I'm almost pegging. Please. Drink some, don't leave me here. Lost my air, in this year. In this case I disappear. Are you there? Sarah,
Good afternoon, everybody. Man, oh man, oh man. We're going to finish up where we left off. We know what the verdict was, that she was found guilty. I got to see it last night while watching the Baker. The verdict came in, but I hadn't seen the rest of the closing arguments. You're welcome to hang out. I also have a couple other things I'm going to go over tonight because I might not be streaming anymore tonight. I've got an event that I'm going to a little bit later on this evening, and I may be back on. We'll see. I don't know. It depends on how much I've had to drink, and if I do, it'll be a members only. So we'll see. But I wanted to get this part of it done and sort of close out the week, because tomorrow we'll have we'll be doing Sunday Spice. We're gonna be reading The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Only the way that we can do it. It's gonna be a wild night. So I would suggest if you're not a member, if I do a stream tonight, you'll get notified. And I'm probably just gonna finish up the beer that I've got. Well, I've got another one, but as soon as I finish up my beers, we'll be finishing up tonight. So that should be good. Let's get on with this thing and enjoy.
Tamper with evidence, nothing. In the same spot as it was. She picks up the bat, she pokes. And she pokes him hard, trying to get him to stop trying to get out. And eventually he does. And you've seen the blunt force injuries. And you saw some of the circular injuries where you can tell there's a poking that gets right around here. And she poked.
No, the reason he kept asking that she was satisfied with her team is because they were doing a crappy job. No, that just may be common with this judge. He may do that with every single client. he seemed like he had a lot of forms that he was going through, a lot of standard things that he was doing, which a lot of it had to do with introducing each member of the defense team, each member of the prosecution, and then also asking her if she was satisfied each time. So I don't think it was anything out of the ordinary. I don't know why autocorrect changed your name like that. Shizuku's a question for you. Whatever. I think I was like, I don't know what Shizuka is, but hey, Shizzywhiznut, whatever. It's good. I think I understood. We're good. We're good.
Poked him several times. Remember, the pathologist said, I think maybe 5, 6, or 7 times. She pokes him. And he's got some scratches. I don't know if they'll let you look at it.
Welcome.
But, on the back
Anna?
of that suitcase, it's got some bars, some metal bars that are inside the lining. There's some lining, and it's for support when you walk it. She testified. You heard what she said, that she was justified. That's uncontroverted testimony. Now, let's talk about the jury instructions just for a minute.
No, was it because she couldn't appeal due to ineffective counsel? It's on record. She was happy with them every step of the way. I think that's probably why. Also, you'll see a little bit later on after the verdict is read, which I do have all of that here. That there's something he goes through with counsel. I did not know this until last night, that apparently counsel, the reason why she had 4 attorneys and 2 paralegals, or 3 attorneys and 2 paralegals, is because in the state of Florida, you cannot have book rights to any of this. Okay. She can't have it. But what she did is she signed over any rights that she had for movie, miniseries, book rights, media, all that kind of stuff to legal counsel. That was part of the agreement. Is it okay to call you a strangler? Hey, Fly. Good to see you. White Rapid, and the constant asking, are you satisfied with your team, was to cut off any appeals. He was making sure everything was covered all the way through. He wanted this watertight. Yeah, I mean, she could still appeal. She has that ability to appeal. She has that right. But she wouldn't be able to go for ineffective counsel. So she can't appeal on ineffective counsel. And that's pretty common. Like I said, pretty common. This judge is pretty solid. I like Judge Graynick. He's been pretty straightforward with a lot of stuff. And there's certain things I don't agree with that he ruled on. But hey, he still had a reason for every single thing, every appeal, every part of that he was going through with the law was basically to keep this thing on track. Yeah, Judge was amazing.
I want to talk about reason doubt for a minute. And they're fun things. I've got one.
Show you guys a pretty cool trick.
It'll be fine. If y'all all looking.
So.
I guess on page 15 or 22. We're going to talk about reasonable doubt in a minute, but if you look at those bottom 3 short paragraphs, it is the evidence introduced in this trial, and it alone, that you are to look for the evidence or look for that proof. A reasonable doubt as to the guilt of the defendant may arise from the evidence itself, a conflict in the evidence, or lack of evidence. But here's the main thing. And, obviously, I represent her, and I'm trying my best to show you honestly and fairly the doubt in this case. And 5 reasonable doubts, 17 reasonable doubts, 25 reasonable doubts. You have to have 1 reasonable doubt. I'm trying to show you throughout the evidence that each one of you can have a different reasonable doubt. But 1 reasonable doubt about the state's case, and your verdict is not guilty. Of according to the law. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt is not a mere peaceable doubt, speculative, imaginary, forced doubt. Such doubt must not blah, blah, blah. And there's no reasonable doubt there.
Certain of guilt. That's the high standard we recognize. If you've got some evidence of guilt, so okay, there's some evidence for conviction, but it's not waived. It's not staying. It wavers and vacillates. Then under our system, you've got a reasonable doubt, and you've got the
There's no
power
reasonable doubt.
and the obligation under the law, if that's the way you feel, to vote that way. Later in the instruction, it goes on. It's up to you to decide what evidence is reliable. You should use your common sense in deciding which is the best evidence. And remember, if any or all the part of imminent threat of danger from George was because of Jorge Torres.
Really? You think? Victims of forensic psychologists with a big black line through it? Oh, jeez. What is he thinking?
Jorge Torres is responsible for her mental state because of the way he has violently treated her. She reacted to his attempts to get out because of the way he treated her and the way she knows.
I don't think we saw it that way.
If he gets out of the suitcase, she knows. The second video is played. She's flipped it back upside right. You hear him, it's 22 seconds. He says, Sarah, she's not going to open that suitcase. She's not going to open that suitcase. He's already threatened her.
Obvious.
She used the bat to get him to stop trying to get out of it.
Yeah, but why didn't she record that he was trying to get out? That's what makes no sense. He comes across as aggressive towards the jury. Well, it's because he's flustered. She had a problem before she met George. Yeah, she had multiple issues before she met George.
Why would she do that?
Because she's crazy?
Why would she do that? I know what he's going to do. I know what he's going to do to me. I know him like I know him more than he knows himself. I know what he's going to do to me.
I'm sorry. I saw every time that she was aggressive towards him, he curled up. He curled up and shied away from her. Every single time she shied away from him. She was the aggressor every single time. Almost every interaction they had, she was the aggressor.
You don't have to wait. That was justifiable. Now, you got to understand this. She intentionally used the bat to defend herself. She intentionally didn't unzip him to defend herself. Both of those are lawful under our law. She went upstairs. The dogs were upstairs. At some point, she called her husband, her ex-husband, Brian Boone. We know that many times she testified, or somebody in court said, she would often flee to her ex-husband's house. Sometimes. I believe that testimony came out from either Sarah or somebody. Sometimes she would flee, or sometimes she would flee to upstairs.
Yeah, White Ran Abbott, of course, No, that's the thing. She would ask for those kinds of things, like for him to get rough with her. And so I don't know. I mean, I think the country boy lawyer spiel hurt this lawyer in the chance. Jury wasn't buying it. She was verbally abusive to him from the videos. Yeah. She berated him and he shrunk away from her. Yeah, we saw it. I had not seen those until the other day, and I was just like, holy crap. I did not realize that that's what was going on, where I mean it was creepy. Just creepy.
One of those two. But the dogs were up there. She made a phone call. At some point she fell asleep, passed out, fell asleep. We don't know. They had 2 big bottles of wine. Right? That was unintentional. That was unintentional. His death was unintentional. You remember when She was in the interrogation room. You remember that? Now, I don't know if we did a good job of this, but
Yeah.
it came out that she got arrested. You remember the one time when she got the black eye?
Hey, how's it
She got
going?
arrested for strangulation. And you remember that? They ended up over there by the dryer, and he was banging her back of her
Oh
head.
yeah, I saw the ex-husband's
on the
testimony
floor.
also.
It had very little carpet on it. And she ended up getting her arms out, and then she grabbed his neck. And she eventually got him off of her. And that's when he got up and stomped her in the eye. Remember? Well, the police came for that event, and they took statement, and Sarah was honest with the officers about what all, and they arrested her.
Because she was the aggressor.
Remember that? They arrested her. And she said, why? I was fighting back. You remember
No,
that?
she was the
Why?
aggressor.
I was fighting back.
You see what she did to him?
So from that point on, she didn't trust law enforcement. The video that they showed a while ago
For someone
about George,
that didn't trust law enforcement, she sure as hell called them a damn lot. She was a regular 911 caller. I would have loved to know what the psychiatrists and psychologists think after seeing the videos of her being abusive. Yeah, probably the same thing. She provoked him and kept going at him. Yes.
that was about dropping the case, where she was defending herself and fighting back.
Worse than Lynette.
I want to talk about this investigation by law enforcement. Now, she didn't know the law. She's not a lawyer.
That's right. It's regular.
She gets up the next morning.
That's right.
Brian's calling. Sarah's got to pick up Lucas at 3. Brian's calling. Eventually, she walks down. She's looking for George. Where's George? He's quiet down there. Then she looks in the bathroom. She looks out. He's smoking a cigarette. He's on the computer.
Well, and you notice how they put battered woman's experiences affect her perception after imminent danger. What they should have said is battered spouse experiences their perception of imminent danger is what it should read. And it also should say victims of repeat violence may fear death in a situation others would not. That would be appropriate. But, he's used as battered woman's. No. It would be a battered spouse. We've learned over the past, 10 years of watching these things happen that it's not just men that are aggressive. Women can be very aggressive, be very violent, can be very dangerous. It's not always men. That's something that they've really started to figure out.
Suitcase. And you can imagine.
Objection. Goldenrod.
Sustained.
She sees him in a suitcase. She panics. What does she do? She tries to get her fiance out of the suitcase.
No,
They're
she
engaged
didn't.
to be married.
At no point in
She's not
time.
trying to kill him. They're engaged to be married. She gets him out.
Uh-huh.
She tries to do, he's purple. She tries her best to do CPR. She doesn't, you heard her. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, call Brian. That's her safety valve.
I
all
don't
she's
see
got.
that she did. She didn't remember
Brian eventually says, come
taking
over.
sunk
She
in.
calls again in 2 minutes. I'm on the
Made
way.
you sick.
He
Yes.
gets there. You got to call 911. I ain't told her before.
Yeah.
Call 911. She calls 911. She tries to do CPR again. Is she busy trying to hide evidence? She busy trying to hide evidence? She busy trying to hide the back? No, she's trying to save his life. If she can.
12 hours later.
So the police get there. She knows if she told him she fought back, she's going to be arrested. That's what happened before. What happened before? Like Jorge said on the video, she'd never been arrested before. Before that time, she was charged with that before.
Standing feels good. That's right. That's right.
She lies. She's scared. She's
She was
doesn't know what to
counting.
do. So she lies. She makes a decision to lie. Don't trust law enforcement. She doesn't know the law. She doesn't call a lawyer. She talked to Officer Rodriguez was the first.
She thought she could talk her way out of it. That's what I saw.
The first one that arrived out again. Talks to her. There's a report statement there where she doesn't tell the whole story. She lies. And then the detectives eventually get there and get her in the squad car. You hear the audio. I think it was played. She lies again. Then the next day, she goes down to the sheriff's department. Now, if they would have told her, hey, man, we're going to arrest you. And she gets a lawyer to go down there to make a statement. And the lawyer would advise her.
Objection. That's not evidence.
Sustained.
Move to strike.
Stricken. The jury will pay no mention or give any weight to that statement.
She's not a lawyer.
Oh,
She didn't have a lawyer present when she made this statement. She didn't know the law. She didn't know she was justified in defending herself the way she did in this dysfunctional, toxic, abusive relationship.
yeah. Very smart, straight A student. Jalmaha stated he done set up a rigger and she couldn't. Yeah. Rigger was already set in. She couldn't flatten him out to do CPR. Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, it was a 2-hour video, but it was the things she said, it was not intentional. And eventually, she wanted the detective, it was Detective Lowen, the male detective. And she said, I swear to you on my son's life, it was not intentional. What she was talking about was that
Doesn't
George
matter.
passed. Was that George died.
Because
That
that's
was
not
not
what it
intentional.
showed in the videos. She
thought he was
intentionally
fine
did
in
not
there.
let him
He sobered
out.
up. We've learned from their history, when Sarah gets drunk, she calls for help. When George gets drunk, he beats Sarah. That's their pattern. How many times did we see Sarah call the law? That's their pattern.
Exactly.
Sarah told him, I didn't know, I think she said, I didn't know something like this could happen. I've never done it before. And Detective Lowen said, well, what did you expect was going to happen? I've got a daughter that she was about 18 or 19, and she got a grandmother's hand-me-down pickup truck. It was an older truck, but she didn't have it long, and she was gassing it up, but she didn't put any oil in it. Eventually, it burnt them up. And you don't know what you don't know. I hadn't done a good job of explaining, hey, you got to put oil in it too. Sarah Boone didn't know that he could die in there.
But she's
The
so
old female
smart.
canvas
Straight A
suitcase
student.
that she left a gap in.
Yeah, we saw that.
And as
text
naive
message.
as that sounds, she didn't appreciate the
Because
danger.
he has to. That's why.
I mean, is that the way you want
It
to
is
kill someone?
incumbent upon
Is that the way
him
you're going to do it?
to do that.
She had Lucas
He has to
to
fight for
take
her
care.
vigorously every step of
doing
the
it like
way.
this. No attempt to hide the gun. I think the evidence is clear. That's how this happened.
Eyes are hurting. There we go.
I don't want to belabor the one. You want to
She
show you.
self at murder. Damn right she did.
Just quickly show you the injury. Sarah Boone got stabbed. Well, think about that. Stabbed with a steak knife in the leg.
Steak knife didn't
she's
do all
been-
of that.
She's been poked between the eyes with a curtain rod. Stalked in the eye. And who does that? The law empowers an individual to defend their life and safety when faced with a threat and to prevent an attack. That's what Sarah Boone did. That's what Sarah Boone did.
No swelling of the eye. It's makeup. Yeah, could be. Do you like the sock puppet? Maybe red or swollen. Glass cut or a pimple on her forehead. Could be. It could be he did smack her with it. It's a possibility that he was taken down to curtain rod and it smacked her in the head. We don't know. We don't have anything except for her word on what happened. We have video of her, you know, locking him in, leaving him in a suitcase, not allowing him out to breathe as he's begging to breathe. So it doesn't matter whether all the bruises, none of that stuff matters. It's just proof after the fact. What we have is irrefutable proof that she did not let him out until 12 hours later. Could be. It didn't happen.
I think it's important to understand Sarah had to be the parent a lot of times.
No, she didn't.
It was her place. She
No,
had that $1,000 a month from the divorce settlement coming in.
1,000
She
a
had the
month,
call.
huh?
She had the phone. She had the keys. She had to be the parent in a lot of ways.
Interesting, CJ.
I want to talk a little bit about Dr. Harper. Do you remember, Dr. Harper is from Okaloosa County,
Could.
which is up in the Panhandle.
Could be,
close to where
Debbie.
you were from. And she's the doctor that treated Sarah from early on. This happened in 2020, I think. I think she first saw Sarah Boone shortly thereafter.
What's up, Zach? Good to see
4.5
you.
years, saw her 9 times and did all the testing for post-traumatic stress. Of course, she has the experience from veterans, and she's testified that she's now just traveling around the state, testifying as a forensic psychologist. But
That's what she does for a living.
she talked about how important it was to develop trust with the patient over a course of time. It's just going to take time when you have somebody suffering that kind of trauma and that kind of damaged psyche. It's going to take some time to get them
Awesome.
where they can trust
luck,
you and really
man.
tell you and talk to you and tell you what's
Hopefully you
going
can
on.
work tomorrow. Definitely.
She talked about
Have a good
Sarah
softball game.
uses her words for power. I think her testimony. I don't think, but I think the evidence supports that her testimony was credible.
Objection.
Hey, Roy.
The evidence supports that her testimony is
Objection
credible.
is sustained.
I can't give my person. The evidence supports that her testimony was credible because of the time that she spent, because of the number of tests that she did, that she diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, alcohol use disorder, I think anxiety disorder, and battered spouse syndrome. Dr. Warner confirmed that. And, Dr. Michael Brandon, the first witness, he was brought in as a subject matter expert. So he hadn't treated Sarah. He was just,
Well, it doesn't matter because they also you had a forensic psychologist come in and saying at the time that this happened, there's no way possible that she was under duress. So, I mean, expert this, expert that, but what is the truth? Truth is she didn't let him out of the box. You get purple and green coloring and a bruise and white of the eye as broken blood vessels, eye swells to almost closing. Sometimes. Depends on where you get hit. Depends on how bad it is.
testifying about the condition. I've been doing it a long time. He's an
I
expert
don't
at
think it looked like a black eye personally.
And that's to advise you
Good to
to
see you,
try to
Robert.
understand what's going on. And as crazy as it sounds, in this syndrome, they try to protect the abuser. They're in love with them. They try to protect them. I don't know if you remember that there was a time where Sarah Boone had a conversation with one of the neighbors.
Or how about her video recording where she's telling him what he needs to say to make sure that the judge doesn't charge her with abuse? Yeah.
and they talked about something. And she said, "Did you hear anything yet last night?" Remember, she said, "Shh, it's okay." Both George and Sarah lied to the police. They lied to medical
Polish.
people.
Could be.
I don't know if it's training. It just comes with the syndrome that you stay trapped in it. I think another big, if you think about this, when Sarah gets beaten by George, she calls the police. When
I mean, when she beats
gets beaten by
George, she calls the police.
And a lot of times she just wants
Those
him
took
out.
away any ineffective
that?
arguments for appeal. But
Didn't
Sarah,
believe.
every day, if
She
she's
doesn't want him to get in
understood
trouble.
and agree
So he
with
just
her
wants him
lawyer's
out.
strategy. Yeah.
There never was a report of George calling the police on Sarah. She wasn't physically abusing him.
It was
State
jelly time.
He's trying to present evidence. Is she emotionally abusive?
Sustained.
Move strike.
Stricken. Members of the jury will pay no attention to that comment. Give it no weight whatsoever.
I believe the evidence that's been presented by the state is an attempt to show that Sarah mentally or emotionally abused George Torres.
Yeah.
Again, she's not charged with that. She's not perfect. Some of that was
Because you can't charge somebody that's deceased. You I mean, they if they wanted to, they could, but you can't bring that kind of crap up. There's no paper trail for being a victim. Yeah, there's no paper trail for being a victim or just stupid.
her trauma. In Sarah's situation, you do become numb and hardened, I think, over time.
Well, I bet
That's a coping
so.
mechanism.
But who abused her?
It's a day-to-day
That she
thing,
would
some
do
good
this.
days, some, But the homicide detectives, I don't know if you saw that 2-hour video. At some point during the 2-hour video, they started talking about some of the violence. And they go, we know. They had already checked with neighbors or whoever. They knew. The neighbors knew. Police officers knew who responded. Torres' his family knew. They all knew about the abuse. Dr.
Yeah.
Harper testified that abused women act differently
Absolutely.
when they perceive a threat.
How about abusive
I
women?
think Sarah Boone was loyal to a fault to George, even
Yeah,
for
I
all the
doubt it.
abuse.
Doubt she was loyal.
Judge, I want to make a comment about a couple of things that were said by the prosecutor in opening statement.
You may proceed.
The prosecutor in opening statement, when he was talking about George Torres passing away, he started talking about Sarah Boone. And his quote was, because I wrote it down, George, in Sarah Boone's mind, George Torres deserved it.
Good to see you, Robert Tower. Yeah, I've seen
George Torres
some of
deserved
it.
it. That's the position today.
Yeah, hit that
deserved
like
to
button,
die.
make it feel good.
She loved the man. She went to try to kill him. He also commented about
Good to see you,
Move
Gailey.
strike.
Yes.
I love that name, Gailey Jeffries.
the prosecutor said in opening about the violence. The violent episode.
Oh, brother,
It's a bunch of violent nonsense.
what is going on? I have a story. Yes, happy Halloween. By the way, guys, tomorrow night we're going to be over on this channel. We're going to be reading The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. That is going to be our spicy chat for tomorrow. You definitely don't want to miss that. Am I sore from grouting? God, yes, Debbie. I am absolutely sore. Every bone in my body is creaking and aching. I finished it. I started at 9:30 this morning, and then finished it up just about an hour ago. Yeah, about an hour ago. Yeah, I am definitely. Yeah, you should be looking forward to it. Make sure that you're subbed up because you'll get a notification. I'll probably set up the stream today. Finally, my story is told. Yes, in case you don't know, I have a story. That is the Headless Horseman right there. He is the Headless Horseman. Show it. All showboating. You think they're looking for They have one. That's the thing, Gailey. Is that Gailey or Gail? I think that's Gail. I think that they do. Yeah, you can tell by the way I'm moving. Yeah. No, they already, that was part of the deal is her defense team signed a contract with her that, or she gave up all her rights, which hurt her none at all. Because in the state of Florida, you can't have movie or book rights for this kind of thing. So they have the rights to that. So they'll be using it, I'm sure. Positive.
Since. What's his say to you in opening statement? All this here, photographs, is a bunch of violent nonsense. You'll have to make your mind up. What is it?
Oh, you have to, a bunch of violent nonsense. All the shit she said to him was just nonsense.
There were a couple of exhibits that I introduced late, and they were no contact provisions, where there had been a court order from a judge, not only a verbal order, but it was reduced to writing. So there was a court order for Jorge Torres not to have any contact with Sarah. Okay. Court system got involved. They have no contact with Jorge Torres. Now, I need to talk a little bit about that.
Correct. She
and
can't.
we talked about coercion, coercive control.
Exactly, Roy. See, she can't, but they can. That's why she signed over the rights. So she can't profit off of it, but her attorneys can. Why do you think she had 3 attorneys there and 2 paralegals? That's why she was asking for makeup and all that other kind of stuff, is because they need to make her look as good as possible, because this is going to be some movie that somebody is making. Guarantee it.
Power and control. Power and control. We know about his abuse. We know he destroyed the home, the TV. We know about his.
The attorneys, I'm sure, will probably work out some sort of deal to get some sort of movie made to tell her story or her side of the story, and all the pain and suffering and abuse that she went through. Although it'll be made up, but hey, you know, it makes for an interesting story.
Jealousy.
Absolutely, George's family.
Some of the things he said to her. We know about how he treated her dogs. Nicely when he was sober, but at times,
I bet she has.
or threatened to do so.
I bet she thinks she'll have a say on her. Maybe.
If you think about power and control, when you're controlling a person, and I think she testified that he kind of smothered her.
That'd be interesting, Doug.
Part of his fear was her realizing that she had enough and to leave it for good. That she would get the strength over time if she had enough time away from him.
She didn't have to. If she signed over the rights, then she doesn't have to have any money for the lawyers. She just signed over her rights to any sort of movie or publishing rights or anything like that. Anything that would have made money off of was going to go to them. That's what she signed over to them. If she had taken a plea deal, she could have been out in less than 10 years. Now that she will be, we don't know yet. The judge hasn't ruled on it. There hasn't been a sentencing hearing that I know of. Nicole would be a better fit for Ashley Banfield. Yeah.
Well, she wasn't in control of it, and he wasn't in control of it. Enough time away, she would come to her senses and realize she could do better.
You should have got the prosecution to do a closing argument for
Judge is
her.
going to give him criminal all the week. I didn't stop George Torres. George Torres knew he was going to lose control.
That's funny, Sharon. Will there be a movie? I doubt it. I doubt there will be any sort of movie about that. There might be. It won't be very interesting. And if you guys stick around long enough, you might see a little bit more from What the Hell stuff. Ooh. We'll see. We'll see if we have enough time today.
She had a bunch of time away from him
Thank you. Good to see you. Your chat is
She
funny.
might move on.
My chat is awesome.
He was willing to violate a court order to maintain control. That's your choice.
Exactly.
I want to show a couple of videos. I want to say something to you. Show you if you're just going to have. If we could get a line.
Yes.
Hey,
Do you understand?
y'all want to check out your
As of this
Discord.
moment, and until I can get you out, get the fuck out of here. Or I dare you.
Did you see
Yeah,
this?
look at it.
Why don't you show the whole thing? See, you notice he's only showing a portion of it. We are awesome. Yes, you guys are you guys are awesome. It's Jerry K. Conway. That's a pretty interesting name. I like that. My dog can play her deaf dog because she don't listen. Exactly. John cooked up was a joke. Oh my God, it was. It was. Okay, you're doing a glue up. Give you a minute. No worries, no worries. Like I said, I have to go whenever the wife calls.
Like, get away from me. Get away from me. Get away from me. I'm gonna scream bloody murder. I'm gonna
Show
scream
the
bloody
whole
murder.
thing.
Did
Why
you
not
see
show
me
the
put
whole
this way?
thing? Why not show the whole thing where she was berating him 5 minutes before that? She was talking down to him, calling him a piece of trash, telling him to get out of there, telling him to leave, that she hated him. She didn't want to have anything to do with him. Is she going to show the part where he goes, where she's chasing him down the stairs, yelling at him, cussing him out, calling him garbage, telling him that he's not worth anything? They're going to show that part? I'll be interested. Yeah, that's what she said to him.
In that instance, where he lost it, even though the video was going. Show the next one.
Oh, just you're only going to show a little clip of it. You won't show the whole thing. Oh, God, what a piece of trash. He looks tired. And she's sitting there videoing it. So it looks to me like the TV crapped out and then they smashed it up for content. That's what it looked like to me. She's been...
Thank you. Thank you, Judge. You turn it off. Can you turn it?
Uh-huh. Okay, so he never used the bat on her.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to finish up right here. And
I don't think so.
Sarah
I
Boone,
think it'll be
I've got
Monday
to
if
go.
they do a sentencing.
Objection.
They usually don't work on Saturdays.
Sarah Boone is like any other citizen. Equal justice under the law. She should be treated like any other citizen. Fairly and impartially. Based on the circumstances she was facing at the time of this tragedy. Based on the battered spouse instruction, which is a special instruction that's given when women have a heightened sense of fear and trauma that you're utilized in applying
Oh,
her subjective standards to the reasonable
I
standard
don't know.
of what a reasonable person would do under her circumstances and using the
Okay,
force that
that's a
she
possibility.
used to defend herself. I hope I hadn't missed anything.
I know I wouldn't.
I tried my best. Sarah
There
Boone
you
fought
go.
back and survived.
Okay. Thanks, Lady Tammy.
We ask
I
that you
didn't
do
know
justice in this case and find her not guilty because the doubt is reasonable. I've tried to show you where the doubt was. I trust your judgment. We spent a long time picking the jury, 4 days. We trust you.
Good to see
We
you.
appreciate your service and your obligation to do your duty. You have the power and authority to right this wrong. That's what we're asking you to do. And give Sarah Boone some hope for a better life and freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any rebuttal?
Yes, sir.
You may proceed.
Oh, rebuttal. Here's your little stand. Yeah, get your little stands out of the way. And all this garbage. A bunch of just they are just disorganized and trashy. Like, that was the trashiest shit that I've ever seen. I've never seen anything worse than that group doing that crap, making it just an absolute shit show of a mess. And there's only one way to like cleanse that palate. I love it. Giving
What's
him a hard
going
time.
on?
What's up, brother?
I know.
What's up, brother? Happy
He's
Saturday,
such an
man.
a-hole. You too. That was fun
Yes.
last night. Yeah.
It was. Oh
Yeah,
my
I'm looking
God.
forward to tomorrow too.
Oh yeah, you did a
Yeah.
great job on that story. Oh,
Oh,
that was
thank you.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Edgar
thank
Allan
you.
Poe. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah. And I think a lot of people didn't realize that too. That a lot of his stories, you know, whether it's Arthur Gordon Pym or even the Pit and the Pendulum, has some historical relevance to it. And and then the Telltale Heart, that was actually based on a true event. So I think a lot of people don't realize that he actually adopts a lot of that into his stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's one of my favorite ones.
That was a really good one. I think I was in the back room for that, and I was just
The
listening the
excitement
whole
of our-
time. I was like, oh, this is so sweet. I mean, like, it was beautiful. It was beautiful,
Oh,
man.
well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah,
Yes,
I like
yes.
that story.
Yeah, tomorrow night's gonna be great though. Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So excited.
Yeah. I think that'll be fun. And of course, that's one of my. I mean, that's my like all-time favorite. I mean, I've had that Headless Horseman costume for Jesus,
Oh yeah.
almost 20 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't been able to find another one that is like it, so I try to be careful with it. I've had to do some repairs on it because I would actually. We're not going to be doing much of that this year or anything, but it was not uncommon for me to stand out there. I'd stand along the pathway to our house.
Oh God, it's hilarious.
And just stand there like a statue. And then have the little kids come by. Oh my God, I felt so bad one time. Well, not really, but I thought I gave this guy a heart attack, and his daughter was so scared. She didn't want to come up to the house. And I'm just standing there in this pose. And of course, it's pitch black out there. I've got the graveyard behind me with all of our tombstones and everything. So the pictures that you see on I Have a Story, or if you watch the previous things, for those of you that don't know, those tombstones and stuff, that's not CGI. I've actually made a crap ton of tombstones, built them out. And so we'd fill up our yard and turn it into a graveyard. And we have smoke machines, fogs rolling all over the place. So if the wind isn't too heavy, it's really cool because it just kind of rolls along. And so I'm standing out there right next to the entrance towards the house. And This little girl, she's just all freaked out. Oh no, I don't want to go up there. He's alive. Oh no, and her dad, he's a big dude. He's right behind her. He's like, no, that's just a statue. Watch. So he walks up, and I've kind of got my hands positioned out a little bit, kind of like I've got my fingers coming out to grab somebody as they're walking. And he reaches out and grabbed my hand, and I grabbed his hand back. Oh my God, I thought he shit himself sideways. I thought he was going to have a heart attack. She screams, and all you see is this white silhouette of an angel screaming and running down the road. It was so funny. Oh my God. It is great. And of course, when I got that thing on and I'm standing there, especially I look like I'm friggin' 7 feet tall, you know?
Yeah.
So it's freaking hilarious.
Some friends of mine, they wanted to get together and do, because they were in a band and they did like public access TV or something like that. So they wanted to do this. A buddy of mine had this backyard that was overgrown with wooded area, and so they decided they were going to dig like a small pit. And basically, I was supposed to come up out of this pit, like sit up. And what they did is they put dry ice in there to get it to fill up. That's not a good idea, folks.
Yeah, you don't want to trap yourself in there. Yeah.
No.
I came
up
that has a
with
tendency yeah, you can suffocate real easy in dry ice like that because of the carbon dioxide. Yeah.
Yes, I had no fucking clue. I was just because I was sitting there as they put the dry ice in around me, and they were just like letting it fill up, and they were like, "All right, so you're gonna have to lay down in there for just a couple of seconds, and you set up." And I'm laying in this thing, and it was like I took a breath. It was like, "What?" And I just sat up, and they were like, "Perfect, we got it." I was like, "You assholes!"
Yeah. Well, I remember there's a story about that, and I can't remember if it happened in the U.S. or in Russia, but it was like a Russian family, and somebody and I don't know if it's Mr. Ballin or somebody else, but somebody's actually done a story on this, and that's what they were doing. They were at this party, at a wedding party. And they had this pool there, and so they started dumping a crap ton of dry ice into this pool. Just a shit ton. Yeah. So it filled up this whole room, enveloped it. Apparently it was so dense you couldn't see anything.
Jesus.
And if I remember right, I believe it killed everybody.
That's bad.
That's
why smoke machines are so good.
Right. Yeah. Because it's just got that sugar base. So you put it.
Yeah.
Now we would do that because it does help, especially because it makes it more dense. There's different density of liquid smoke you can get for that. But what I would do is I would run it from our machines through a pipe, and then it would get filtered into this big garbage can that I had wound around, and then I would dump dry ice in there, and then it would come out the other side so that it was super cooled, and that makes it hug really close to the ground. Oh,
Yes.
it's so cool.
Yes.
It is so cool when it does that.
It's like easing right across. And I mean, we had the graveyard set up. It was pretty damn awesome. But yeah, that was a learning experience. I didn't, and I never really thought about dry ice that could suffocate you. So yeah, we had fun. Well, let's get back to this thing before the wife shows up and chases me off. And we're going to a pig roast tonight, so.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Here we go. Rebuttal just tosses it down, just like.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jorge Torres is dead because the defendant believed he deserved to be zipped shut in a suitcase so that she could make him feel how she felt when he cheated on her, when he choked her,
Oh, yeah.
and to hold him there as a captive audience, according to her testimony. Now he has to listen to me. Well, right out of the gate, there are credibility
It's
issues.
not a clam bake.
Cheating to me means viewing pornography. Well, we saw cheating really means women. And the heated conversation on June 14th about these women in Facebook. And that is what leads to the arrest on June 15th. He's out whoring, Candy Crush, all the bizarre things that you see in her phone. She uses the legal system as a weapon at times. There's no denying that they are engaging in violent behavior, and it is over nonsense. It is smashing TVs. They call the police, and then they're standing there looking bewildered about what to do and who to say, and laughing and joking. Ladies and gentlemen, the courtroom is the place for justice, not a suitcase. The reason we have a jury system originally started with the idea that the king, the crown in England, shouldn't be able to go and incarcerate citizens on his whim. So it developed into a system where citizens would have to say, yes, you can take our fellow citizen. But the opposite is also true. A citizen cannot take another citizen's life because he or she feels like it. That,
Come on, where's the fun in
likewise,
that?
requires a jury to decide that it was objectively reasonable for a person of ordinary prudence and caution. Like Mr. Cacciatore argued earlier, battered spouse syndrome is not a license to kill. Past grievances, even being stabbed in the leg, so on and so forth, do not
Bullshit.
give her the license to kill.
Yeah, I agree.
There are still laws in place about
Getting
when and
stabbed
how
in the
this
leg.
can be done in a justifiable manner. I want to talk about the most important jury instruction in this case that has not been discussed very well. Thoroughly. Excuse me.
And remind me later, I made a mistake about that too. I misspoke.
Okay.
However, the use of deadly force is not justified if you find that Sarah Boone used force to initially provoke the threatened use of force against herself. And we'll stop at that comment. The facts of the case that came from her own mouth, if she is to be believed, and we will explore thoroughly why you should disregard every bit of her testimony, from court to the detectives, to the 911 operator, to the doctors. Her testimony, if it is to be believed, the most favorable light that she has presented of herself, is that at the end of a Sunday fun day, where we are drinking, we're outside by the dartboard, we're doing puzzles, we're doing arts and crafts, and there finally comes a point in time where we're gonna play hide and seek. And he says, tag, you're it. Even though she's it, she goes upstairs, hides in the shower, eventually gets tired of being there, it's cold, so on and so forth, and she comes back downstairs. And as she comes back downstairs, she can see Mr. Torres fiddling to place himself inside the suitcase to try and hide for this game. And the lid is not closed, it's flapping. And out of jest, out of levity,
Nice.
undisputed according to her testimony, she comes over there and zips it shut. Whether it's 100% or enough for 2 fingers to get out, that is something that you decide as the jury. But there came a point in time where the fun and games was over. And Mr. Torres told her that. Babe, I can't breathe. Sarah, babe, let me out. This is all on video. We don't have to imagine this. This is all on video. 1062.
Exactly.
At that point in time, she is using force against him that is not justified. She is the initial provocateur. She is the aggressor under the law. And what level of force is it? I can't breathe. Not let go of my hand, not get your hands off me. I can't breathe. This is no different than 2 people, maybe they're buddies at the bar, similar to an example that's given by Mr. Owens, who are wrestling, and one has another one in a headlock. And there comes a point in time where the person on the receiving end of the headlock says, that's enough, I'm tapping. Jorge Torres was tapping, and she ignored it. And she was kind enough to tell you why. Out of anger, which translates to hatred, ill will, spite, just like that in jury instruction for second-degree murder. She told you exactly why. She got angry. Him saying, I can't breathe, babe, was what triggered her. Not a fear of imminent harm. Those are her own words. That is the law. These are the 2 paragraphs that solve this equation without getting up on a big whiteboard in college that's 30 feet long, 15 feet high, and a ladder, and somebody's scribbling Latin words and Greek letters for months and months to solve this huge, complicated equation. The equation is solved in 2 paragraphs.
What a
She is the
slapdown.
initial aggressor. He is saying, I can't breathe. It is no different than a naked chokehold that she does not let go of. And she told you it's because I want him to listen to me. This is my bully pulpit. This is how he made me feel in the past. She doesn't describe it as teaching him a lesson, but that's exactly what she says. I want him to feel like I felt in the past. I want to tell him things. Ladies and gentlemen, we can play semantical games, but that is teaching him a lesson. Therefore, we have to look at the other two paragraphs. Because right now, plain as day, the use of deadly force is not justified if you find that Sarah Boone used force to initially provoke the threat and use of force against herself. And what force are we talking about?
Why?
Well, the threat of force that she tells you she was facing was him fighting for survival. Him sticking his fingers out of the suitcase. Him sticking his hand out. That is the threat of force, coupled with, I'm going to end you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, she is the initial provocateur. She is the one using deadly force against him. If I have somebody in a rear naked chokehold, they are entitled to use deadly force against me to break that chokehold, at least until we're separate. He had every right to say what he said. He had every right to exist and stick his hand out and try and survive, breathe another day. However, the use of force is not justified if you find that Sarah Boone used the force to initially provoke the threatened use of force against herself, unless she does one of two things. And she did neither. Not even close. The threat of force asserted towards the defendant was so great that she reasonably believed that she was in imminent danger of death or great bodily harm. All right, let's give her absolutely every benefit of the doubt, which you should. This is a criminal prosecution.
No.
Absolutely.
The state of Florida has alleged she committed murder. You need to do everything you can to look for reasonable doubt.
Oh,
But
right.
reasonable
Yeah.
doubt's
No,
not
I agree
imaginary
with that.
doubt,
But no, she was
forced doubt,
never
speculative
interfered.
doubt.
No.
No, she was not.
So accepting that all of their past history, accepting the doctor's testimony and the limitations on what they reviewed compared to what we reviewed. We did a much more thorough review of the relationship than any of the doctors did in this case. So let's give her that first clause. Because of their
It's like
past
watching a slow
relationship,
train
with George
crash.
now fighting for his
Yeah,
right
you
to
just can't
exist
look away.
and saying that he will end her if he gets out. We'll give her that. But just like Mr. Cacciatore mentioned earlier,
Well, and I had never heard his rebuttal remarks. I'm like,
Oh, you didn't?
I'm like, holy,
Oh.
no, I hadn't seen. But I
Yeah,
was
I
in the
caught
middle of
this
watching
end
that.
part of it right before
God.
they went into deliberations. Yeah, so I caught this part
Oh.
of it.
See, I hadn't seen this.
Yeah.
And the thing is I was like, holy shit. I mean, he's like on fire. Like he's
Yeah.
bringing the damn fire to this. I'm just like, I mean, Mr. Cacciatore was pretty damn awesome, but
Yeah. Well, I was really surprised. I mean, we had talked about that, and with all the video and everything, because you never know, especially having a majority jury of women. They're going to have
Right.
more concern or doubt, I would think.
Yeah, great possibility.
Or at least that I've seen. And so I thought that with all the video and everything, it was going to take longer. I was suspecting they were going to come to the same conclusion. I didn't think it was going to go to manslaughter. I thought she would get hit with murder too, but I thought it was going to take a lot longer.
Oh,
than what it
I didn't
did.
think that. I thought they would be like over the whole weekend, go home, think about it, come back on
Yeah,
Monday,
I mean,
and
yeah.
release a verdict, or at some point in time, maybe an hour or something like that after. It was under an hour and a half, and the jury had a verdict. Holy shit! That was enough time for them to sit down and eat some dinner.
Pretty much.
And discuss it and say I don't find any reason that she
I
should
think-
be allowed.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they did while they're, well, I don't want to put it in that term, while they're mixing their salad around and eating it. They're just throwing this stuff out and just confirming that, because Caitlin said that last night too, and I agree then.
Yeah.
Clearly, they already had their minds made up before they even went into the deliberation.
Oh yeah, I think they had their minds made up after those videos. That like solidified it. And you listen to the judge every time the jury would come in, they'd be just like, "Yeah, we're good.
Yep, we're good. Let's go."
Let's move this thing on. We're
Yeah.
ready to fucking go home." Mm-hmm. Like they were pretty much in agreement.
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah.
I think Owens didn't want to travel back Monday. Yeah.
lawyers, words mean things to us, and they mean things to everybody, but really to us.
I like his
Or an
tie.
and. There's an and. Had exhausted every reasonable means to escape the danger other than using deadly force on George Torres.
And there it is.
She did not use every reasonable means to escape the danger that now, after provoking him, that he was presented to her, according to her. She didn't pick up her cell phone and start walking, call 911. She didn't do anything other than, if you believe that is why she called Brian Boone, made a phone call to Brian Boone, and unfortunately,
know.
because of past history, he just ignored her drunken phone call. She did not exhaust every reasonable means to escape this danger that she created. She started it. She created this. Other than using the deadly force on Jorge Torres. Now, this is a weird situation. This is not a rear naked chokehold. This is a suitcase, or as Mr. Cacciatore said, a box, or actually more aptly described it as a coffin. And when you secure somebody into a box or a coffin, you can still exert that deadly force on them from a distance. I'll give you a quick example from a couple of movies that I love. In 1977 in May, a movie came out called Star Wars. They eventually called it Episode 4.
Tammy,
In the first scene, there is this large, imposing figure that wears black armor. He is a government agent, and he is looking for some stolen classified documents. He picks a man up who he believes is responsible for this treachery and breaks his neck and chokes him to death when he doesn't tell him where the plans are. We all understand that. That is direct force we all understand. But what we need to understand is the force she's exerting from the couch. And then when she goes up to bed, she is still exerting that force on him. She set these implementations into motion and did not stop. So later in this movie that came out in 1977, another co-employee of this dark, imposing figure, Vader, insults his religion. He does not go to HR. He takes matters into his own hands and chokes this person from a distance. Ironically, while we're talking about force, it's the force. And then in the subsequent movie, he's
oh
like,
my God. Oh my
It's
God.
so funny that he's throwing out the Star
He's
Wars.
quoting Star Wars. Just like,
Have you seen that robot
my
chicken one?
yes.
Where they do
yes.
the parodies of Star Wars, and he's like, and it's the Emperor, and he's like, an aluminum. What the hell is an aluminum falcon?
Oh, goodness.
They did
Oh my
what?
God. What? Oh God. Yes, I love how he's explaining Star Wars. How I understand the comments
Yeah.
I was seeing about Star Wars. Well, and that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I'm glad that we could illuminate you, or illuminate you. Never mind.
like doing it from his office. He's killing his incompetent employees on different
Indeed.
ships. Force, deadly force can be exerted from a distance in this situation. So whether she's on the couch or whether she turns in for bed, she is still using that deadly force on him. She has not exhausted every reasonable means to escape this danger. Do something. You started this. You put him in the position where he cannot breathe. She's required by law to do something about it. Not something, everything. There was no efforts in this case. None. Or, in good faith, Sarah Boone withdrew from physical contact with Jorge Torres and clearly indicated to Jorge Torres that she wanted to withdraw and stop the use of deadly force. But Jorge Torres continued or resumed the threatened use of force. That did not happen. She never withdrew from physical contact. She is still, like Vader, choking him from the couch, choking him from bed. She never withdrew that force. Physical contact includes any restraint on Jorge Torres' movements.
Yes.
She never indicated that she wanted to withdraw. Sarah, babe, I can't breathe.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been, and the point that he's making really can resonate with you if you think about this. You've got someone hanging from a noose, and they're just like, "I tap out, I'm done." You know, they can't really speak because they're choking, but they're saying, "I'm done. I'm tapping out." You know, I surrender, and then you just keep them there.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're not touching them, it's your inaction that becomes.
Right.
You're still doing something, you know, in it. What I can't remember. It's some philosophical thing that I can't remember precisely how it works, but just the act of not doing something, you're still doing something.
Right.
You know, it's you've made that choice. Oh, thank you, Danielle.
And that's why a lot of people, and that's why a lot of states, for instance, have come across with laws in regards to that. Where if you come across an accident or something of that nature, they require you to take action, call 911 or render aid or what have you. And people have been prosecuted for failure to do that, for failure to render aid.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and what you're asking is, you understand this correctly. Now, whenever she called the emergency number, she had already pulled him, according to her, she had already pulled him out of the suitcase and laid him out and was administering CPR according to her. Now, whenever she called 911, she said that she had him out and they were telling her to perform CPR. And on the 911 call, she was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and she was just counting along with him. We have no verification that she actually did CPR because none of the signs on the body showed that she performed CPR on him.
Correct.
But you know, you notice that the prosecution isn't bringing that up, which is odd, but there's a reason why they're not bringing it up. It's because you can't prove it one way or the other. You can't prove that she didn't. You can't prove that she did. All that you can do is take your word for it. It's an extra detail. It's irrelevant to the fact that he was locked in a suitcase for 12 fucking hours.
Well, going back and listening to the ME, like I said, listening to the ME testimony, that right there told me she didn't do CPR. There were no broken bones. She had only listed the amount of bruising from the blunt force trauma. There was no sternal separation. There were no rib fractures. There was no sternal bruising, which tells me right there she didn't perform CPR. If you are performing CPR, if you are involved in a code and you actually work a code, your ass should be wore out. That will tire you the fuck out. She didn't do any of that. There were no signs at all that CPR had even been performed in any way, shape, or form. And then on that one part where you were showing with the baseball bat, and he's going at that was the part that also stuck in my mind with that, where when the ME brought up the fact that she found, although it was about 70 some percent blockage, but he did have coronary artery disease. And so that also explains his ease at shortness of breath, along with being intoxicated and then being shoved in there. Was that the sole cause of the death? No, I don't believe so. I believe she's absolutely correct. It was positional asphyxiation and the fact that he was accumulating the CO2 as well, which will take you out very quickly. So.
Well, and most likely because of the issues he was having with his heart, there's a very big possibility he could have been dead within a year. He could have had a widowmaker. He could have lived for another 50
and that's
years.
what it's called. Yeah, it is actually called a widowmaker. And it's a ticking time bomb. That's unless you do some preventive measure, either in a stent or cabbage or whatever. But, yeah.
Yeah, CPR with a foot. Yeah, it's more like she did CPR with a baseball bat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hey, well, now I will say that one of my good friends, she passed last year. Her husband, which he was a big guy, loved his cholesterol induced food, but he was out walking the dog and dropped it. Boom.
Yep.
Just like that.
Yep.
He was just out walking the dog. Nothing normal, nothing abnormal. He had a widowmaker. Like they said, and they tell you the reason they call it a widowmaker is you could have paramedics right there with you at the exact instant that hits. You're not coming back from it. You're done.
You could have a drugstore. I mean, we could be pumping you with all kinds of stuff. We could have you hooked up to a substation. All that juice, all the drug, that's not going to do anything. You're not coming back.
Nothing.
Because the ATP, which is the energy that your heart needs, has to maintain a certain level, which is why when they tell you, when you find somebody down, you just immediately start CPR, because the average person from their last breath will have approximately about 4 minutes of oxygen left. So you need to get that to circulate. So that's why you immediately start doing compressions. And then you take off and call 911 or go find an AED. But if that ATP is down, it does not take very long for it to drop, and there's nothing you can do.
No, it's done, and done. He tried to unzip the bag, and she hits his hand. She acknowledged this. If we believe this, did you ever do aluminum? No, it doesn't matter. There would be no point in doing that. Here's the thing. Some of these things are ridiculous to do. You don't need to do all these extra steps. You don't need to do all these extra steps to get these things taken care of.
Well, and I don't even think that's true because, again, a lot of what we're going off of is what she is saying. Oh, we had the suitcase down there for a week. Oh, we were going to be doing this. We were going to be. No, I don't believe anything she says. She could tell me day was light, night was dark, and I wouldn't believe her. I firmly believe this started upstairs. She beat him down. As you see in the other videos, the way she talked to him, the way he would cower, she beat him down into that fucking bag. And she zipped him up, and then she louged his ass. That is firmly what I believe. And then she louged his ass down that stairs because on that one video, that's why we're seeing it upside down. Bounced off the bottom of those steps and flipped. That's what I firmly believe.
All right, I'm going to let this play, and I have to step away for a second to feed my pups, but I'm going to let this play. I'll be right back.
All right, if I let you out, are you going to come out peacefully? Since I started this, I'm the one that made you not be able to breathe. That didn't happen. So ladies and gentlemen, this entire analysis about deadly force starts and ends there. She was the provocateur. These are her obligations when she starts it. She put him in fear of death. He is literally telling her, I cannot breathe. A couple other things about the law. Second-degree murder does not require a proof of intent to kill. Argument was made repeatedly that she didn't intend to kill him. That has never been the state's suggestion. Because why would we suggest we prove something that we don't have to? It's not her subjective belief. Well, Sarah Boone doesn't believe that this suitcase can kill him, even though he's repeatedly said, I can't breathe. It's a person of ordinary judgment who would know is reasonably certain to kill or do serious bodily injury to another. A person of ordinary judgment who hears, I can't breathe, babe, Sarah, and his voice gets weaker 9 minutes later. You're on notice. This is statutory notice. Done from ill will, hatred, spite, or evil intent. Her words speak for herself. This was not out of fear. This was out of hatred and anger. Born out of all those horrible things that have been done to her and done to him. Understand, we're not going to belabor the past. Is of such nature that the act itself indicates a difference in human life. I don't care that you're saying you can't breathe. Fuck you. That's my name. Don't wear it out. Fuck you. It's second-degree murder. We do not have to prove the intent to kill. We have to. She intended the act. She intended the act of zipping him shut. She continued to intend that act when he said, I can't breathe. That act resulted in his death. That's a manslaughter, but then when you add in the hatred, ill will, spite, and the depraved mind, that's what makes it second-degree murder. And that 2-minute video is the textbook definition of depraved mind as we define it here in Florida. Voluntary intoxication is not a defense. You cannot feel sorry for her because they had 2 1.5-liter bottles of wine and then some from the leftovers from the day before. And quite frankly, she's blackout drunk. She's blackout drunk. She doesn't remember making the videos. She turns her phone over right to the deputy the next day because she doesn't know what's on it. She doesn't remember doing it. Another thing that we just haven't talked about much is her story. She can't be up in the shower hiding and taking a picture at 11:03 p.m., 9 minutes before the video. That portion of her story just doesn't add up. And what it shows is it's more like 20 minutes instead of 11 or 12 minutes that we know he's trapped in what turns out to be his coffin. Let's talk about her testimony at trial. And we'll talk about all the problems. A lot of her issues predated her relationship with Mr. Torres. So it's not attributable to the trauma from Mr. Torres with all the luggage she brought into the relationship. And listen to the way she talks. It's not splitting the bills. It's helping without argument. It's not cleaning up and doing Sunday chores. It's cleaning up so we can relax. It's a reward. She talks about him like he's a child. I need to lead him to the next activity from one to the other. And then you saw all the videos, and I'm not going to belabor it, but that we showed in rebuttal, but the relationship and the power dynamics speak for itself. He was treated like the third dog. And it might very well have been a dog that bit and was violent, but he was treated like a dog. Why are you leaning against my door? Get out of here. Go downstairs. You're worthless. You're garbage. They showed the part of the video where he slaps the phone, but that's after 5 or 6 minutes of being berated and dehumanized in a way that nobody should be treated. He just wanted to get in bed and lay down next to his fiance. Instead, get away from the side of my door, you useless dog.
I am the princess.
I thought it might be a good point in time to listen to the music. You know, when does Mr. Torres get to decide what to do? I mean, she she paints this picture that he goes off and does all these things on his own, goes and buys wine when he's not supposed to, does all these things when he's not supposed to. But when does he get to do what he wants? Suitcase downstairs for a week so they can donate it. What was in their lives that was preventing them from getting that suitcase to Goodwill or whatever? Neither one of them worked. What's going on? Lucas is over there on Mondays and Tuesdays. The story about the suitcase having already been down there is quite suspect, and we will get into that more. But again, it's not we went on a trip together, we had a great time. It's I quote unquote, I recently took him on a trip. Then it comes down to the moment of truth, which we've already gone over. And it's just quite frankly inconsistent because she doesn't, there's no explanation for the picture. Her explanation at trial when I brought it up to her was, I just don't remember. I don't remember this period in time from the picture at 11:03 to when I was supposed to be coming down the stairs. There's a major glitch in her matrix. She shakes the suitcase, please stop doing this to me. And then his hand gets out. Now she's the point in time where she gets angry and doesn't do what the law requires after basically choking him with his coffin. Beats him into submission with the bat and turns it back over.
Okay, now that you're back, I'm going to check on my glue real quick.
For the first time ever at trial, she says, I'm going to fucking end you, is what he said. She never told that to even her doctors. We've heard arguments why she didn't tell the truth to the police and all that. And there's a lot of truth into the argument that was made. There's a lot of truth. When the argument is made that she didn't understand self-defense, what that means, what it comes across as, she makes the story change as she learns about it.
Yeah, it does.
When we apply the jury instructions to her statement, all 6 of them apply against her. Won't belabor this since it was discussed earlier, but did the witness have an opportunity to see and know the things about which the witness testified? Even at trial, she admitted that she was intoxicated for the first time. She went back and forth with the police about whether or not she was intoxicated and her standard of drunkenness and whatnot, but she was so intoxicated that she still felt the effects of it at 1 p.m. the following day. The medical examiner told you that alcohol dissipates in the average person. Everybody's different, tolerance, all sorts of things come into play, but on average, 0.015 grams per deciliter will dissipate every hour. So you can do the math. 0.015 times 14 puts her at 2.5 times the legal limit. For those reasons alone, you should not believe anything she told you. You should not believe anything she told the police. You should not believe anything she told the doctors. She was at 2.5 times the legal limit. She has a gap in her memory that's unexplained when I brought up the photograph at 11:03. You can't have it both ways. I don't remember 11:03 to 11:12, but I was upstairs in the shower hiding. Does the witness seem to have an accurate memory? Well, this ties into what we're talking about. But again, there's a glitch in the matrix, 11:03 to 11:12. Her memory is not accurate. By her own admission, I don't remember. She tells the police when they show her the video, I don't remember that happening. Was the witness honest and straightforward in answering the attorney's questions? I submit when we got off script, and by we, I mean with both attorneys, she wasn't as honest and straightforward as when it was a very directed and smooth examination. I came out of the gate with something that was off script. Tell me about Pamela Erickson. Tell me about Christine. Tell me about Crystal. Because she's the one that said cheating to her meant pornography. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know, she knew exactly who those people were and that she believed that he was cheating on them with her. And apparently she is too with some guy named Ben. That when I describe this as a violent, nonsensical relationship, that's exactly what it is. It's not to downplay the violence. She got stabbed. She had minor surgery. It got infected. Those injuries are real. But they just don't apply in this case. They just don't apply when you use that self-defense instruction when she's the aggressor, if it's to be believed.
Object.
Approach. Okay, proceed. Objection's overruled.
Let me say it loud and clear. Bad spouse syndrome does not have any effect on this case. It has no relationship to this case because she is the aggressor. She zipped him shut in the suitcase after he said, I couldn't breathe, she wouldn't let him out. Therefore, all of the instructions above that paragraph of however do not apply. They do not apply. Now, turning back to what I was saying, Did the witness have some interest in how the case would be decided? Well, of course. 3 out of 4 panels that y'all came from indicated to the judge fear of punishment was more important than the fear of public speaking. It speaks for itself. She has an interest in the outcome of the case. Now let's talk about, does her testimony agree with the other evidence in the case? You do not have to accept this story. Let's pretend, as you should, because all 6 of these things, we haven't gotten to the inconsistent statements. Let's pretend her testimony doesn't exist, and you just have to look at the circumstances. The testimony from the defendant is Jorge Torres' head is here. You can stand if you need. You've been sitting a long time too. His head is here. His butt is kind of down here. His feet are here. And his hands and his knees are up here. He's in the fetal position, if we remember right. The hematoma on his head is on the left side. The bruises, the deep bruises on his back are on his left side. That's, you hear that? That's solid. You don't have to accept that she put those marks on him when he was in there. The evidence doesn't support it. You can conclude she used this bat when he was outside the suitcase. You don't have to believe her when she said they were playing hide and seek. You don't have to believe her because she doesn't know the rules. She came downstairs, saw what she had done, and had all the opportunity in the world to clean up whatever mess may have been at the bottom of the stairs. But ladies and gentlemen, physics doesn't lie. She can't expect you to believe her testimony about the loud boom being the day before compared to her 2 neighbors who weren't drinking, who have no interest in the outcome of the case, who suffer from none of the infirmities of her testimony. She suffers from all 6 infirmities. When her neighbors say there was a loud boom that night, there was a loud boom that night. Did it shake the wall they shared in common? It shook the wall that they shared in common. Did she have any injuries consistent with being dragged up and down the stairs the night before? No. You saw the pictures the CSI took. You don't have to accept her story about hide and seek. Something made that loud boom. It takes energy to make a loud boom. Energy that could very well be in the form of somebody going down some of the stairs, all the stairs, in the suitcase, out of the suitcase. But that's what the evidence supports, is there was a loud boom that shook the walls and interrupted a FaceTime conversation that was so loud that the girlfriend on the other end heard it. Something loud happened. And then there was silence, according to the witnesses. And they can argue that Juan Torres' testimony was great for them. It's great for the state. She was screaming at him already at 7:30 p.m. She was already on her bully pulpit. And we know she doesn't need to put him into the coffin to get on her bully pulpit. There's video after video of her on her bully pulpit telling him how it's going to be, how you're going to live your life. Go take a walk. Do this. Do that. You don't have to accept anything she said. It's inconsistent that he received the hematoma to his head, his bloody mouth. How is his mouth getting bloodied inside the suitcase? That's protected from her and her bat. But that suitcase, a 100-pound drunk woman is not beating through the wood of that suitcase or whatever it is that's making that noise when it's thumped. Ladies and gentlemen, those injuries happened outside of the suitcase. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody or something went down those stairs. She has no injuries consistent with going down the stairs. He does. He has blunt force trauma all over him. You don't have to buy her story, and you shouldn't. The inconsistencies, I'm not going to belabor it. Your dinner is waiting in back. Let's just briefly talk about the experts, and we'll move on to the end. Dr. Brandon was absolutely fantastic. He explained everything that you all needed to know about battered spouse syndrome. And this isn't about whether one of them or both of them had battered spouse, because at the end of the day, she's the initial aggressor, and she had the duty to do the things that the law requires. But it does call into question the credibility of the past power dynamics of their relationship. Those videos speak for themselves. The officer in the last video asks him, dude, you're a guy. Why don't you do something about this woman, your wifey, who you don't want to rat on for beating you? He said, man, I'm not a beefcake. I'm not going to rat her out. There's countless examples, if you apply Dr. Brandon's testimony to Juan Torres, that really shows you the power dynamics of the relationship. He was her violent pet. Dr. Harper. I don't find much quarrel with what she says about battered spouse syndrome, and nobody should. I mean, she's the expert, but she's not Ms. Boone's treating physician. She's not her treating psychologist. The way it was described in argument, and I believe from Dr. Brandon's testimony, was she's supposed to be a forensic detective. Get to the bottom of this. She's going to come in here at trial and tell you her opinion you should rely upon. With 9 visits, she never asked the defendant what it is the victim said that put you in imminent fear of death or great bodily harm. That's the crux of the matter, Doc. You're never going to ask her what it is he said or did for this grand jury instruction about threat of force or use of force. It's remarkable. And, you know, she didn't review everything that was presented to you. At the end of the day, it's your opinion that matters about this relationship. And again, we agree with Dr. Werner. It doesn't matter. She had the duty to retreat. She had the duty to take the chokehold off. And if it was too dangerous for her to directly take the chokehold off, she had the duty to do something else, everything in her power to stop him from dying because she started it. She set it in motion. She used the force grip on him from a distance, the couch and from bed. It was her obligation to stop. She didn't. But Dr. Werner, she was called by the state of Florida after having evaluated and listened to the defendant give a similar story and concluded battered spouse doesn't apply. So she was never asked to delve any deeper into it. Given the information that she did have, the limited information, she agrees, yes, Ms. Boone has battered spouse syndrome, but it doesn't apply to the case because she was the aggressor and she did not fulfill her obligations. And really just your gut common sense. Go back to jury selection. In jury selection, there was examples about bullies day after day doing something to somebody. And somebody raised their hand and said, don't they have to do something that day? Don't they have to do something that day? And he didn't. After he was put in fear of death and told her he can't breathe, the imminent threat of great bodily harm and death she is describing to you is him fighting for his life to escape. She did not fulfill her obligations. There's details that matter. And again, not to belabor it. I mean, the evidence in the body-worn camera and the 911 calls, it's not offered to prove the truth of the matter of as who stated what. Who knows what happened between these two? You see them with the police. Can't believe anything they're saying. It's not offered to prove that she's a bad person. It's not offered to prove that Mr. Torres is a bad person. It's simply offered to call in question the reliability and credibility of what she said about the past. That's all that it's there for. But there are some nuggets and some Easter eggs.
Which you can't rely on.
There was an argument made during closings that Mr. Torres knows not to do anything when being videotaped.
Habitual liar.
Bizarrely, shortly thereafter, they showed a very edited clip of him attacking her and slapping the phone out of her hand. He knows he was being videotaped, and there was another video like it too. So to make the argument that he doesn't do anything, he's a good boy when he's being videotaped, it's belied by their own argument. They showed one of the videos. Learned helplessness. She seemed to control everything. I mean, his birth certificate, it gets torn up when he doesn't comply with her wishes. You'll see the rest of the text messages if you choose to delve into them. But I would suggest you don't have to, given the jury instruction about aggressor.
Well,
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a long 2 weeks, and you are making a very, very important decision for Ms. Boone and a very, very important decision for Mr. Torres and the state of Florida and his family. He's dead. She killed him. She's admitting she killed him to have this affirmative defense that I was justified. It was not justified under our law. She does not get to decide that she has a license to kill because of her past grievances. The law requires her to stop using the force that she started applying to him. And she didn't. She didn't withdraw. She didn't tell him he was withdrawing. She didn't use every means available to try and stop this from happening. She didn't. And you know what was in her heart. She tells you it's hatred, ill will, spite, and venom. This is not a self-defense case under the law. Go back and follow the law. You cannot feel sorry for her. You cannot feel sorry for him. You cannot feel angry at her. You cannot feel angry at him. It's maddening to see their relationship. It is maddening. Nobody would want this life for yourselves or your children. It is violent nonsense, but it does not affect what she did and what her duties were under the law that night. She wanted to punish him. She did, and then she left him there. And she had an obligation, if you even believe her story about the imminent threat for him fighting for his life, she had an obligation to do something about it and not just go upstairs and let him suffocate. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you both. Members of the jury have some additional instructions to read to you.
There you go.
We'd be so kind to turn to page 21 of 22.
damn, that was fire. That was fire.
If you become aware of any violation, you are that will be deliberating in this case. I thank you again for your time and your service. The exhibits will be brought back to you momentarily, and a meal is waiting for you. We will work till approximately 10 o'clock tonight. If you do not
And
render
I
a
was
verdict before
laughing
then.
my ass off.
And
And originally, I said, "Oh, that would be because see, I don't think the defense was counting on that." And I originally had said, "I'm going to laugh my ass off if he makes them wait there till at least 9 o'clock." And when he said 2,200, I was rolling because I bet that pissed the defense off. They're like, "What?" Because they were expecting them to not have to come back till Monday, I think.
Thank you again for your time and your service. I'm going to ask the courtroom deputy to go ahead and take you back now to the deliberation room.
And this,
because you could tell he was just reaching for everything. He was just trying to stretch that out as long as he could.
You can bring your phone with you. There's a basket that the deputy will take and collect for you. Thank you.
Do you intend for jurors to take the notes into the deliberation room?
Yes.
I would object to that on the grounds that it allows one juror essentially assert that their notes are better than others as opposed to just relying on them.
Any response, State?
That's not the law.
There's a verdict form. There's an instruction that I read specifically on that, sir, that no one juror's notes should trump another juror's notes or their memory. So your objection is overruled. Mr. J and or Mr. Cacciatore, do you have the clean laptop for the review by the defense? While we're putting that together, can both the state and the defense review all exhibits that were entered into evidence and confirm they are what they purport to be?
And I don't agree with that to begin with.
I'm going to go speak to the alternates. And I'll return.
Jurors sit there and they take notes, and they take notes for a reason. And so, especially like the other day when we caught where they were doing that cascading effect of all the videos, right? There are oftentimes things in there where, and we've seen that, where the defense may not think that it's important. The prosecution may not. Hold on.
his air compressor kicked on. That's awesome. I love it. Yes, what he's saying is what he was saying is I absolutely agree.
Sorry, my air compressor went off again. I forgot to turn it off.
Here's what I've got to do. I got to do. We can talk about this. We may end up having to do it later, but
okay. All right, go ahead.
We're going to be leaving here pretty shortly, so we're going to bring in the verdict really quick, and I'm going back here at 5:54. No, that's fine.
Sorry, Lulu and everybody else. Yeah, I forgot to turn my compressor off. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I do have to head out here shortly, so we're gonna get the verdict read here.
Excellent, Stacy.
I would ask for all remains muted, and would you remind everybody in the gallery that there should be no emotional reaction.
I was just about to address that, sir. Thank you very much. All right, members of the jury, be it enjoy or in.
At Orlando, Orange County, Florida, on this.
There it is.
Madam Clerk, if you could please publish the verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the Ninth Judicial Circuit in Orange County, Florida, case number 2020 CF2603, the state of Florida versus Sarah Boone. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree as charged in the information. So say bill dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, on this 25th day of October 2024. The form has been signed by the court.
Madam Clerk, please poll our jury.
Juror seat number 1, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror seat number 2, is this your true and correct verdict? Yes, it is. Juror seat number 3, is this your true and correct verdict? Juror seat number 4, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
Juror seat number 5, is this your true and correct verdict? Yes. Juror seat number 6, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
Members of our jury, again, I want to thank you for your time.
They weren't lying whenever they said there was only one male juror in there. Because I listened to it, there was 5.
I think there was an alternate, but he was dismissed.
Yeah.
I think there was another male alternate, but I think all told there were only 2 males. Yeah.
And reading
which is why when I found that out, I was
one male.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Time, your sacrifice, and your attention in this matter. I know that we spent almost 2 weeks together, and it was not taken. They come from those who are simply curious. There we go. Mr. Owens.
I'd say 30 minutes,
Okay.
30 to 45.
So if we set this for an hour, that would be sufficient.
Pardon me.
Okay.
Stay, please.
Is that sufficient, Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Okay, all right, give me a moment.
Yeah, I'm sure he won't.
He will not be doing her appeal. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's not an appeal lawyer. There's attorneys that do appeals specifically.
Well, I would hope not, because he sucked at this. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Yeah, he was pretty bad.
I mean, granted, we've all acknowledged that he was trying to polish a turd. I mean, he literally had shit to work with. So, but at the same time, there's doing your job for your client, and then there's going
For
above and
sentencing
beyond
on
being
December
a douche,
2.
and he's a douche.
Yeah, December 2. December 2 is the only time he'll be able to do it. He'll be there for sentencing, though. I'm sure he will.
State, is that acceptable?
Yeah,
December 2.
It's a Monday.
I'll have to mark.
I just hear, but I'll make it work.
I can move it to later if necessary.
Co-counsel on it.
Okay, defense.
You want to-
Yes, sir.
That's Monday, December 2 at 1:30?
Yes, sir.
I can be here.
At one. Okay.
There's the family.
Ma'am, you've been adjudicated guilty. I now remand you into the custody of the Orange County Jail pending sentencing on December 2 at 1:30. State, anything else we need to address?
Not for the sake.
Defense. All right, thank you very much. We're off the record.
There will be one more. There will be one more. The sentencing that I'll cover, and then that's it. So December 2nd, 2 o'clock, boom, and it'll come down. She'd be crazy to appeal. She'd be crazy not to.
Oh, they're going to. Yeah.
Yeah, they always
Yeah.
do. They always
Yeah.
do. All right, here it goes, everybody. I might see you guys later
All right.
tonight. Don't know.
Cool.
Are you going to be doing anything tonight? Are you going to do any stories tonight?
I'm not sure yet. I'm still doing this. I'm just waiting for my glue to settle, and then I gotta punch some
Gotcha.
more holes and do some sewing. So I'm not sure. But
Well, and I
saddle
do
stitching. Let me say that saddle stitching.
Oh, jeez. Well, I do have. I'm going to forward everybody over to where the stream is going to be tomorrow. It'll go over there. Just you guys just set it as a reminder. Just know that tomorrow night we'll be doing Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I Have a Story, or Yamaha
Yep.
Biker's brother will be there, and I hope I can get back on tonight. No guarantees. It depends on how drunk I am. And if I do it, if I am drunk, it will probably be a members only stream. Everybody have a good evening. We'll
Thanks,
see you
everybody.
very soon. Peace.
See you later, Shizzy.
Looking tight, I curl and wait. You passed out, hoping you return my fate. Empty my stash out. Stupid game has turned to cruel. Are you feeling me? Love is gotta feel the fool. I can breathe. Wasn't meant to be my night. Hiding in the suitcase tight. Sarah's giggles fade away, leaving me as a castaway. Sarah, let me out. I'm begging, begging, please. And please, breathing stuff. I'm almost begging. Please, please, so don't leave me here. Lost my air in this year. In this case, I disappear. Are you there? Are you there?